Good morning, Giants. Welcome to Wake Up with Giants TV. Have you ever wondered, hey, look, I've got an identity, but it all comes crashing down. Now what do I do? We've got the show for you. Good morning, Giants. Welcome to Wake Up with Giants TV. I'm Ryan Morris, and as always, I'm here with Nicholas T. Smith. And today we have an amazing guest. I don't know why I'm a little bit more nervous than normal because maybe it's because I've idolized our guest for so long. But if you haven't subscribed on YouTube, go ahead and do that now. Come join us on Facebook, a Tribe of Giants. Nick, will you introduce our guests?
I will. We've got Jon Absey. If you've ever wondered who the man behind the mask is, this is the Jazz Bear. Jon Absey has worked in that career. Was it over 10 years that you were doing that or more?
25.
20. You see, I was close. Anything above 10 is perfect.
That was really close, actually.
But what's beautiful about what you did is 99% of your work and your appearances as the Bear were for charity. I mean, you went through a lot to get there. You've had 10 surgeries, 27 torn ligaments, tendons, and muscles, 156 stitches and staples, and you've raised over $2 million as the Chaz Bear for charity. And I think the journey that we're going to discover as we go through this is really going to be defining for a lot of people, because after it was all over, you kind of had to start over and look at your identity of who you want to be after the Bear. So I just want to welcome you to the show. Hopefully that was a proper introduction.
No, that was great. Thank you guys for having me on. This will be fun.
You're welcome. So if we can go back in time through your history, what was it like for you growing up?
Yeah. I had a great childhood and stuff. The thing that was interesting is my parents were a lot older. So like when I was born, my dad was 65, if that helps you guys get an idea.
Yeah.
No, 62. I lied, 62. But like if you talk to my brothers and sisters, they always laugh because they say I was raised by kind of wolves because my mom and dad were too old to handle me or follow me, and I was definitely a mistake. Just so everybody knows. So because there's a definite lapse in age. I mean, there's a space in there, and but I'll tell you what, I just learned. It's kind of weird when I look back now. Everything I did as a kid was basically me just training to become the Jazz Bear down the road. So,
well, even that thought of being a mistake, I'm sure you were doing flips and jumps and dives and everything to get to be here. Like, I got stuff to do. I'm not waiting back. I'm no mistake.
Yeah, it was fun. Just because I lived on a farm up in northwest part of Minnesota, up in East Grand Forks, and that was just, man, I was all over the place. Climbing and running and driving motorcycles. It was fun.
Did that set the stage for everything? Did you kind of know you were going to go this direction at that age, or?
No, not at all. I mean, it's just I look back now and I just laugh because I was really fortunate that I went to it was called Sacred Heart High School, and any other school would have kicked me out. I'd have been looking for a new school. I wasn't mean or anything. The best way, Sister Basil. So we had her name was Sister Basil, and she was amazing. But she always just said that I'm not a mean boy. I just have ADD like crazy. So I was just all over the place, and they just let me kind of be me. And they like Mr. Myers, Bonnie Andrews, and all these guys. They helped me get through school.
Is that right, Sister Basil?
Sister Basil. She was amazing. Oh wait, no, it's Basile.
Oh yeah, there I go. I'll change it here.
I just, honestly, you guys, I think, and I'm sure you guys have seen it too, is the thing that's really interesting is that I sit and listen to all these people that they speak in public and stuff like that, and I listen to their lives and where they've come, to either the Olympics or, big jobs or something like that. But they all have kind of like a hard life growing up. And they end up, crawling out of it and become really successful. or at the top of their game. And the one thing that I always, feel weird about is I never had any of that. I had the best upbringing possible. And so that's where I'm really fortunate. So.
Yeah, one of the things we've seen through the journey is that the background, the starting point is different for everybody. We had a guest that was on she was from Malta. We've had guests that their families were highly religious, others that were not. We had some that were abused and some that they had perfect upbringing.
Yep.
And it doesn't matter where you start. The idea here is that we all have a different start point, but we all have this potential within us. And a lot of times we don't even know what that potential is until we start stepping out.
Right.
And so when you were going to school and Sister Basil was kind of supporting you, right?
I got a lot of Sister Basil stories.
Yeah. Perfect. You might share some.
But tough as nails, man. She was awesome.
But she supported you. She didn't. She said, "Man, you got a lot of energy. It's not, you're not a bad kid. You're just energetic." And so there was some support there. Did you ever feel sometimes that you were not supported? That you had this vision and dreams and these things you wanted to do, and you felt small around those?
Because originally my whole goal was to become a stuntman. And something that I thought was really cool was when I was I was 12 years old, and I wrote a letter, and I'll never remember the name, but I wrote a letter to this stunt academy and asked them stuff. And this guy wrote me a 3-page handwritten note.
Wow.
And it was kind of interesting because he was like, "You don't want to get into stunt work." He just goes, it's hard, and it's a, kind of a backstabbing, organization, and it's who not what But I was just really impressed that he hand wrote a 3-page letter to me and kind of churned me off from there. That was probably one of the times when that was really what I wanted to be. And when I read that letter, I love him for being honest, but at the same time, it was one of those moments where you just go, "Oh crap, man."
Yeah.
Dream just kind of went away.
So Sean Stevenson, do you know who he is? He was 3 feet tall. He's in a wheelchair for life. He passed away about a year ago. And he said, "Never believe the negative predictions of others." And I'm wondering how that might fit with that letter.
Oh, big time. I think, and we were talking earlier, I think everything is for a reason, because if I'd have followed that path, I wouldn't be where I'm at now. And I really love where I'm at right now. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I have a couple friends that are stuntmen. Brian Finn is one of them, and he's all over the place. He's traveling, and it's great. But man, that man is busy, and his work is either up or down. There's really nothing in the middle. He's either doing a lot of work, or he's like, "Yeah, I got no jobs right now." So I feel like it was for a reason. It really was. And I know that might've been my dream. But it just drove me just a different direction. And I think I've been really fortunate or I don't know if it's fortunate, but I've been really willing to just let whoever's in charge of me right now, thank you or somebody, but I mean, just driving me to where I need to be and doing the purpose that I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So the purpose, right? So I define that word purpose etymologically as moving forward to a place to rest, like moving forward, and pause to rest, right?
You are a very smart man, Mr. I did not know
that. but I love the idea of this, because when you step out on that journey and you're chasing that uncertainty, so you're not really sure where your life's going to go, but you're willing to follow that path anyway. And you start to create a purpose, this place where you'll pause, right? Yep. But then you might have multiples of those. And so when you started out on this purpose, did you have a clear path? Did you kind of know exactly you would end up right here, or was it?
No, not at all. You guys, my life has just been, it's squirrel moment after squirrel moment. And just a myriad of doors, and I'm always fortunate. Have you ever seen that show where it's like this competition and all these guys are running, and at the end they have to run through a door, and some of them are solid and door that you can bust through. That's my life. I was running, and there's I've been really fortunate though that the doors that I've been running into have just been paper, and I'm pushing through. So I've been really, really lucky that way.
I don't even know if I spelled squirrels right, but man, chase those squirrels. Well, so there's an analogy in that for life, is that we often want to set our purpose, our goal, our aim, and then know an exact path to it. And we set our goals from that space of, I've got to know exactly where I'm going. And a lot of people give up on their dreams because they're not willing to chase those squirrel moments.
Right.
And you were willing to go down whatever came up. And how did that evolve for you? How did that become what is today?
I think it all depends on how to explain, who you knowing who you are, in a sense.
Yeah.
I knew who I wanted to be as a person, and looking at all those doors, I had to figure out which door was going to be more me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't take a door, like we were talking earlier, just for money or for this. I picked what was going to be more of the moral, character and integrity driven, things, if that makes any sense. I think a lot of people, they get distracted in there, with either the money or this or that. But my whole goal, ever since I started with the bear and stuff, was, and even before then, was to give back to the community and to give as much as I could, because, and I know you guys have read those quotes and stuff like that, but to me, it's honestly true, is that I get more pleasure out of making sure that I can give instead of receive. I'm always trying to help as much as I can. So
foundational to it all then was this desire to give back.
Yes.
And where did that come from?
Because, like I said, I felt so blessed. I really did.
Yeah.
Growing up, having a great childhood, finding a job that just fit me perfectly. And I still remember back in the day when I had the character and I was realizing the impact I could have with children and families and in the community. And I remember I went to the Jazz, and it's kind of a funny story. This is another time I should have been fired. I went in and I said, I want to, start doing all these charities. And they were just like, no, we have 3 charities and those are the ones that you need to stick with. And I was just like, but I won't be doing that much. These charities only do a couple events a year, and there's so much more out there. And they said, no, well, I would just go off and do them. And little did I know that in the background, almost all those charities have cameras, like, the news network. So I'd get called in the next day and they'd be like, hey, we saw you at Special Olympics, or hey, we saw you at the diabetes walk. Yeah. And I'd be like, yeah, I'm sorry, and I won't do it again. And then next week,
slipped. It was a slip.
So, I still remember it came down to a pretty decent argument about them not wanting me to do charity work, and me saying, nope, this is what I'm going to do. And
wow.
And it got it got interesting. That, and thankfully, like we were talking earlier, is I had an amazing manager, Grant Harrison, and he came in and he just kind of smoothed everything over. And basically, that's when they were like, okay, you can do it. We'll try it. We'll see how it goes. And then it blew up from there.
You just created this distinction there that we talked about before the show, which is the difference between a manager and a boss.
Yep. Right.
And what is your experience of that? What's the distinction for you?
Well, when I started, and when we were talking about management, is I was really fortunate for 23 of those years that I had amazing management. They were willing to. The one thing that my manager, Grant Harrison, said is, he said, John, I'm going to give you enough rope to hang yourself. Just don't hang yourself. And I was just like, okay. So they let me kind of run everything. I had a lot of control, and when I was working, I had, it was either me to Grant or me to the president. I didn't have a whole bunch of layers, so I was able to get stuff done quickly. When you bury yourself down in a whole bunch of layers and have to go through a ton of people, you just get lost. And so I was really fortunate for those 23 years to have that. And like they always say, we're all one management change away from being let go. A whole new management crew came in, and that's when I had a boss, and we did not see eye to eye. And he did not want to try and understand. It was either his way or the highway. And we had our rounds. So
yeah, I mean, you would know a thing or two about breaking, right? And how when things are rigid, they break.
mm-hmm.
And when somebody gets rigid in their way of doing things, then things come apart. They unravel a little bit. And so I love the idea here that you had some flexibility around what you could do. You had enough rope to hang yourself, but you went to the limits of what was possible. But it gave you that creative freedom to really come up with your own ideas, and then to go back into another space and have that contrasted by somebody that says, no, you're going to do it this way. I mean, this is a great lesson for people that are running teams, is look how your rigidity is creating that breaking that you're seeing in your team. I could see how that could happen.
Yeah. I mean, cause the hard thing when it comes to management, and I think that's one thing when we were talking earlier about Linko, you know, that I wanted that opportunity to be able to manage people, but the 25 years that I was the Bear, I had a group of guys, and they were called the Bear Crew. And I was so fortunate that we had a number of them that started when I started, and they were there the whole 25 years. And wow. We were super tight. And the one thing I learned is you treated each person differently. You just had to, you know, I didn't want them to fit in with me. I wanted them and everybody else to feel happy, comfortable, and relaxed. Because like you just said, is if there's tension, you know, what we're doing on the floor, you know, it's going to show on the floor, I guess is what I meant to say. But, you know, and the fact that those guys were the ones I'm depending on to save my life, you know what I mean, when I'm coming out of the ceiling or on top of a ladder, and to look out for me if they see something, you know, I really wanted them to know that, you know, I cared for them, and I really wanted them to succeed in life. And I think that is why in my heart that they stayed with me so long.
Yeah.
It's interesting on the other side, being a fan and having season tickets for, I don't know, 20, 25 some odd years, and watching you perform and the way that you are out on the floor, like there was no inkling that any of that was going on, right? We just show up, we get to see you perform and be you, but then you pushing through and breaking the boundaries of what's possible, and having to deal with, you know, all the other things that come along with that, the management and the change, and doing your very best to be able to make sure that you're showing up right in the space that you want to show up. We have no idea on the other side. I'm just like, we fall in love with the Jazz Bear, right? We fall in love with who you are and the way that you bring him to life. And I don't know, I just think that's interesting that you could have given up at any point in time too. You could have just said, you know what, this isn't working, see ya. But you kind of just, you held firm to your convictions and what you wanted to accomplish. And there's a whole, I don't know, generation of people that look up to you as the Jazz Bear, you know.
Oh,
and I don't know the new Jazz Bear. It's not the same. Not the same at all. Yeah. And so anyway.
No, dude, I love you for that. So but yeah, you know, like the thing that's interesting though is, you know, because right now I think there's 4 guys doing the Bear. There's the guy that does the crowd. There's another guy that does his dunks and stunts. And there's another guy that does all of his dancing. And so, I mean, it's interesting. You know, the thing that's hard though, when it comes to stuff like that, is when you have this, you know, these management that comes in that's different, don't want to understand, and they cleanse everything. They start getting rid of everybody. And then all of a sudden, you know, Ryan Smith comes in, sees that, oh, this management is not the management that we need, and then gets rid of everybody. That was the bad apples in the company. But then it's too late. You've already let go of so many good people that put so much time into that company. And I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about there were so many people that were loyal and really loved working there. But they're gone already. And because of that management crew. And it took them too long to realize that they were not the crew that needed to be in there.
Yeah. So I want to talk about, let's go backward a little bit to your path, because where we're at, you're the Jazz Bear in this part of the interview. You're already the Jazz Bear, but where you became the Jazz Bear, there's that part that's missing a little bit is you talk about squirrels, and you busted through a door called Jazz Bear. And you found out you really like that path, and 25 years later, you're still on that path. So the idea that you've got this squirrel mentality is true in circumstances, but for 25 years, you stayed on the same path.
Yeah.
And so going back to that moment, how did you knock on that door, bust through that door? Can you tell us about when you became the Jazz Bear and how that came about?
Once again, it was totally accidental. I was going to school in Fargo, North Dakota, and I was working at a gymnastics gym called the Fargo Moorhead Acro Team. Even though I wasn't a gymnast, but I lied just because I needed a job. I was a poor college kid.
Yeah.
So I was working at the gym. The CBA team called the Fargo Moorhead or the Fargo Fever, and the CBA was the Continental Basketball Association back in the day before the G League and stuff. And they came in and just asked if there was anybody there that would want to be a mascot, and they all just pointed at me and said he would do it. So, and it was $25 a night, boys. I'm telling you, I was getting rich. So I ended up going and doing that job for half of a season, and then they fired me because I thought I was going to kill myself or somebody. Because
Too intense?
What?
Too intense?
Well, no, because it was like I said, I was bungee jumping out of the ceilings. I was sledding down the stairs back then. I mean, there was just all this stuff. Yeah. And I just loved it. Yeah. So anyway, they let me go, and I thought, okay, that was great. It was a fun experience, and now I'm back into school. And little did I know, though, that there were some fans that really liked Thermo, the Bobcat from the Fever, and it made the paper that I got let go. And then a team up in Winnipeg, Manitoba called and said, "Hey, we saw this. Would you want to come up and work for us?"
Wow.
For the summer. And it was a summer league, and I was like, "Sure." I'm serious, you guys. Whichever way the wind blew, I was ready to go. So I ended up driving up to Winnipeg, and I worked there all summer. And that was on the opposite end is how many times I almost did kill myself, and they were just happy that that it looked cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, because there were so many times that I had a guardian angel that was talking in my head and saved me. Like I remember one time I would straddle two beams, and it was in the Winnipeg Jets arena, about 120 feet up, and I would just jump, put my feet together, and I would rappel in really fast. And I'd always get up there early so I could take my head off because the head was cumbersome and I couldn't really see down to hook in. And I got up there late this one time, and I did it blindly, and I hooked in, and I sat there waiting for my intro music. And in my head, it just kept saying, "Don't go, something's wrong." And the music kicked on, and I got up on my toes to jump, and I didn't do it. And I pulled my head off like, what the hell? And I looked down, and I realized I hooked into a cargo strap, which was about 15 pounds. Yeah. So that was one moment that I was like, really blessed that I had somebody looking out for me.
Yeah, don't hook into a cargo strap.
Yeah.
So, and then I remember another time we were sitting there, and we were doing Phantom of the Opera, and we were going to zip line in from a spotlight stand. And I just hooked up a cable, and I had a lanyard, and I just twisted my hand in it, and I would hold it. So as the twisting happened, it tightened up on my wrist, and I would just hold it. And when we practiced, we were only practicing about 20 feet in the air, and we would zip line down to the floor because I had a dancer that was wrapped around me that was holding on to me, and I was holding on to her, and I was just zip lining in with one arm. And in my head, it was like, yeah, this is great. The team was like, sure. So the night we do it, we get up into the spotlight stand. I'm fully garbed, which I never practiced in suit. And I realized when we were up there, she's not in a harness, and she's just literally wrapping around me. I'm holding on to her, and we're probably 90 feet in the air, and we go. Well, what happened is I slowly started to unspin, if you know what I mean? So this started to loosen. Wow. And I remember screaming, like I was screaming out loud because I was squeezing so hard to keep my hand in that landing. Wow. And all I could think about was, she's not dying. I was like, I'll die of a heart attack before I hit that floor, but she's not going to die because of my dumb.
I do all these stunts all the time, though.
Yeah.
All the time. Like, this is no big deal. But usually it's when I'm asleep.
But we hit the floor. I remember I collapsed. I couldn't even dance. It wore me out so much.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We heard a story from a friend of yours about a time on a motorcycle and skidding down the road and fur everywhere. And
You said there was like a mile of fur on a Harley.
do you want to tell us about that experience?
Which one?
Which one?
I was really fortunate
Yeah.
that Harley Davidson of Salt Lake City, they and my first bike actually was from Burt Priest, classic motorcycles back in the day. And I remember, dude, when the motorcycle's really not yours and you know somebody's going to fix it, it's like you do a lot. You're way more willing to just, do a lot more crazy stuff. But no, I would drive fast, drive hard, and I would brake, and I would always slide the bike, and I'd try and do burnout or cookies on the motorcycle and stuff. But I remember shooting down 300 South.
I think this is the story.
East, and I'm flying. And over there by the Wells Fargo building, there's a set of stoplights kind of right in the middle of the street. And as I'm driving, I realized, crap, I missed my turn. So I locked it up and I was sliding sideways. And as I'm sliding, my tires hit some tar, or like it wasn't cement anymore, like they patched it.
Yep.
And when my tires hit it, it catapulted me and literally threw me, I bet you 20 feet in the air in the middle of the street. I landed, my bike comes sliding up to me. And I remember I stood up and I was just like, and all these cars were standing there, they had to stop in the middle of the road. And anyway, hopped back on my motorcycle, drove it over to Harley and said, yeah, I kind of hurt the bike. So,
yeah. So the thing is like when you're in that character, so this we'll go off track a little bit here, but when you're in that character, does it give you this space to really show up completely, fully in ways that you never could if you didn't have the mask on?
Oh, absolutely. That's why I always kept it so secret who I was, all those years.
Yeah.
Is because it made it easier to do that. When people when you guys, before you guys met me, when you saw the bear, all you could imagine was the bear. It was just that image. But the second you meet the person in the suit, it becomes the person in the suit. And it's like the Santa Claus thing, when you find out that your mom and dad are Santa Claus.
Yeah.
So,
what? My mom and dad are Santa Claus?
Wait,
for all the kids out there, I was joking. It's not.
This is new information. I'm going to have to explain this to my daughter now, John. Thank you.
It really does. It gives you the liberty, like just more freedom to do everything you wanted to do that you have always felt embarrassed to do or nervous.
So it could really serve somebody to step behind the mask in a way. I mean, this observation, right? Not only the observation that you have of yourself when you're in that mask, but the observation that others have. Like you said, when that observation shifts and they know you as Jon Absey, the power is taken away. Because in your mind, you see yourself as less than, in a way, than that bear. And so they also see that. And so that power of that character is stripped away. And I'm wondering how this could serve our audience, if you're able to put on this character, not as a fake it till you make it, because that's what people tend to do, but an empowerment where you fully step into this character and this role you want to play in life. And you really be that all out, like you going down 300 South, right? And even if you were to be launched off the bike, so to speak, you're still going to go for it because you're going to step fully into that character. So I'm wondering, in your mind, could that serve somebody to put on the mask?
Yeah, but honestly, it's So I mean, and this is just something, and I think this kind of relates, but I have a friend. His name is Lee Bowen, and he runs Signs and Shapes International, and it's an inflatable costume that you get in, and it's full of air, and nobody can see you, and you can run around. Do you remember the big inflatable bear, Ryan?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So he was doing a show, and hi Andy.
Should have been a squirrel.
So he was doing this trade show, and this mother had showed up and was talking to him about something, but her son was autistic.
Okay.
And they were letting people get in these inflatable costumes, and she didn't see that her son had gotten into one of the suits.
Huh.
And when she turned around and was looking for him, she couldn't find him. And then, asked Scott, his son, have you seen my son? And he's like, oh yeah, he's in that suit right there. And Lee said that you could see the tears in her eyes, and she just sat there and watched because he was being so extroverted. You know what I mean? And he was just out there interacting with people, and he never did that before. Wow. But it was because of nobody being able to see him being somebody else. And all of a sudden he was more willing to be, who he really wanted to be. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. I think of Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
Mask, the movie. I think that was the basis for that movie. Even though it's a comedy, the reality is that when we can put on a mask, we show up different. And it's not this case of I'm going to fake that. It's really, you're putting all that possibility that was already within you. You're able to bring it out because of that mask.
Right. But I think, is the thing that's hard is, trying to get people to understand that you don't need the mask. And like I told you guys before is I was in the suit, I got done, and I thought that suit defined me. I thought I'm never going to be able to do all the charity work I did. I'm not going to, all the relationships that I had, but I was totally wrong. And it wasn't the suit. It was, it was who's in that suit and what my mission, my drive is all about. And I just think, I finally realized that it's what's in your heart, what's in your mind, and what drives you.
Yeah,
and
wow.
You don't need the costume to take you to or you don't need to hide behind the mask to take you where you need to go. You just need to step out and be super confident with who you are. The group, like the events that I've been to, and I see people interacting. The one thing that's hard for me is when I see people trying to be somebody for everybody. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
This person in this setting, they're this person with this group.
Yep.
And it's something that Andy, I know you're watching. You tell me if I'm wrong, but I just think I've always tried to treat everybody exactly the same, and what you see is what you get. You know what I mean? It's like this is me, and I'm happy with who I am. I'm confident that I'm living my life the best I can right now, and that's really all I can ask. And I just feel that there's a lot of people out there who don't know what they want to be, where they want to go, and they're not happy or comfortable with themselves. But once they find that, life is just so different. I mean, when you find out that you wake up in the morning and you know where you're going, it's amazing. But you really need to rely on a lot of the people that are around you. Like when I was done, talking to different people and having those people help you. A lot of times people just don't want that help. They're like, oh, no, I can do this on my own. You need to be open to the fact that sometimes you need help, and sometimes you need to listen to other people and have an open mind that, what I believe isn't, 100%. I love the fact that when I'm in, with my group of friends and relationships and everything like that, I got every different belief, every different, culture, everything, because I like to be really open-minded and take in, the good things from everybody. I really feel like I'm like this hodgepodge of people that I've met over 53 years. And it's like, I really like that. And I try to.
Wow. That's almost mystical in a way. What you're describing there is this ability to take the good from every situation, regardless of where it came from. You have this ability to take the things you like for you and pull that in wherever it comes from. That rigidity, some people get so rigid in their view that they miss that. They miss that opportunity. I don't listen to country music. I don't listen to rap. I love it all. Some people will do that though. They'll be like, I got one genre of music for my life, and that's it. That's my theme for life.
Yep.
And what I love about what you're describing here is this ability to just pull what works for you, what's good for you from everywhere. That could be from any source. Huh.
I try. It's like,
yeah.
But I mean, it's, I just feel, really blessed that I was able to do what I did for 25 years. Plus, I feel like I kind of understand a little better what's important in life. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What has been, if you had a memory that just immediately comes up with this question, is what is the most impactful experience you had through all of this, through being the jazz bear?
Through being the jazz bear?
Or not. You pick it. Whatever came to mind right there with that question.
I mean, honestly, there's not one answer for that, Nick. I mean, if I said one, it's gonna not really. It's just not gonna really explain it, because there was just so many experiences being the jazz bear. Like, you know, showing up at I didn't know what the appearance was about. I showed up and I'm expecting to be the clown's here. It's like, and I opened the door and I'm looking around and I'm like, there's something going on. There's something wrong, because everybody was so serious and they were just staring at me like, do something. And it took me a minute to try and look around, analyze the situation. And I realized their 10-year-old son is dying and really close to death. And he liked the jazz bear. So I went in. But I remember that was one of those moments, you know, I came out of character and I sat and talked with him, and I talked to the parents, and we hung out. And it was one of those things where it's like, you know, out of all the things that, you know, he could have done, I know they did more for him and stuff, but I was one of the things that they wanted him to see before he passed. And he did pass like 5 hours later. And I remember after that appearance, and, you know, I don't know if this helps, but I went to a soccer game for my daughter and I was watching her play. And it was one of those aha moments that it was like, it's those little things, you know, that people don't understand. And I remember listening to all the parents, and they were yelling and screaming at the ref and at the coach and at their kids. And they were so involved in the sport, or not in the sport, but they were so involved with, you know, just not appreciating what they're watching. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So involved in like, we got to win, and that damn ref or this or that. And I remember I just lost it. And I remember I screamed and I told everybody and I kind of threw some expletives on him, and I yelled up and down. And I told everybody to shut up. And I basically said, I just left the house of a family that has a 10-year-old that's dying. And I said, do you think they would give a crap about the refs or the coaches or what's going on right now?
Wow,
they love to see their kid out there playing. And I said, you guys need to appreciate that. And then I remember there were more expletives. I was so angry because, and it wasn't anybody's fault. It was just that it hit me, that aha moment of, you know, this has nothing to do about winning. This has nothing to do about anything other than my child's healthy and I get to watch her go out, have fun, and play a game. And I remember the rest of the time, my wife even walked away from me. It was like, but nobody said a word the rest of the game because I was just so angry. I was like, I'm going to kill somebody.
You know, I think about that though. The what matters in that. Here that we put so much weight on winning the game, and that matters, and that becomes more important than what you're talking about. This global perspective of a family that's losing their 10-year-old son. Yep. Right? They'll never see that happen. And so in your world, you see that as what matters. Right. And it's an interesting world that we live in where there's space for all of that. Yeah.
Phil got out of that. The Jaspers.
Yeah. You can bring that back up. Yeah. Yeah, apparently so. I think we all do. That's I think even in the book, The Giants and the Smalls, I'm pretty sure there's some language in there. I just couldn't put it in a kid's book.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
You know what I got too out of this whole thing so far is that, John, you know, you talked about being a mistake, and I'll tell you what. That was a pretty touching story about being able to impact somebody's lives. You know, like the family that their son is dying. That was their only thing that they wanted. That's the only thing he wanted was the jazz bear. But you were the vehicle. You were the only one that could fill that suit. You were the right person to fill that suit, that position. And if you weren't here, that wouldn't have happened. If you wouldn't have stepped into your full potential and done all the things that you did along the way, that wouldn't have happened. And I look at and I'm sure there's countless stories like that from a fan's perspective. 25 years of awesomeness because you stepped into a purpose. And I'm going to tell you that was no mistake. That you were destined for greatness, to be a giant, and you were living into your giant potential. And I have some mutual friends And everybody that I've talked to, I've thought about this interview for over a month. And what do you ask one of your, like I was 7 years old, 8 years old when I started going to jazz games. My dad would. This is a long time ago, and I'm sure parents don't do this now. But my dad would drop me off the front of the Delta Center at 7 years old, say, okay, you go in that door, you hand them your ticket, you go up to your seat. Because I had been to, 50 games, 100 games, with my dad. And I would take a buddy to the jazz game, and we'd go up to our seats, and I knew exactly where to go, what to do, where my dad would pick me up when we were like, this is kind of like stuff you don't do these days, I'm sure. But I idolized the Jazz Bear. Like that's what made it like an experience for me. I like basketball, but the Jazz Bear, you made it an experience for me. And so the impact that you've had on, and I'm sure it's that way for millions of people globally that have been impacted by you. And to know that you've done that wasn't the Jazz Bear. That was you. That was what you've done. And I've talked to friends who knew you before. They all say the same thing. And they knew you during, and they wouldn't tell me who you were either. I tried. But they knew who you were and who you were becoming, and they all say the same thing. I can't find somebody that says John's this guy, John's the terrible guy, this. I don't think there's any dirt on you, and if there is, maybe you could put it in the comments section. But I don't think there is. I really, I'm going to choose to believe that there isn't, because you showed up a certain way consistently all this time, and it's in your heart of who you really are. And for that, I rambled on for a minute, but I'm so appreciative of who Jon is and who you are continuing to become. That's amazing.
Ryan, I'm sending you a gift card.
Yeah.
Super nice.
That was the agreement before the show. That was great. Yeah.
No, Ryan, seriously, one, thank you so much. I really, really, really appreciate that. But the thing that's kind of crazy, hi, Curtis. But the thing that's crazy is, or not even crazy, the thing that needs to be known though is the thing that you kept saying is that you and you about being the bear, but it wasn't me. It was the group of people that I had around me. It was the Grant Harrisons and the Andy Judds and the Curtises and the Als. I mean, they were and my bear crew, and it took a whole, just like your name, it took a tribe in a village to get the bear where it was. I would love to be able to say that it was all me, but it wasn't. I mean, I had the support. If it wasn't for the Grant Harrisons or the Craig Sanders and the Nate Randalls that supported me, the bear wouldn't be where it's at. You know what I mean? If I didn't have the bear crew that I loved and they loved being there, it wouldn't have happened. It took so many other cogs in that big wheel to make the bear what he was. And I'm just fortunate that I had all the right pieces.
I am grateful that you said that, because that is vital right there. I mean, we don't do it alone. I wouldn't be where I am today without the league, without Ryan, without the tribe of giants. There's no way this book wouldn't be what it is without that. As I look at your life, I would imagine, I mean, you were swearing on a soccer field, that there's times that you have dark moments, but that doesn't take away from the global view that you're creating good in the world. Like, for heaven's sake, Jesus threw tables at the temple. He was so pissed.
Yeah.
And nobody looks at it and says, well, he's a bad man now.
Right.
And Jon Absey can have some grace for some moments where he might throw some F words around, and still be a good human. And so I think that flex that it gives people is, you don't have to be on your A game all the time to create good things. And I want people to hear that. I want to hear that for me too, man, there are days that I have some dark moments, and it's probably not something people would want to witness.
Yeah.
But in the end, my vision, my goal is to do good things in the world. And that's what I hear in your journey.
Yeah. I mean, just like anybody is, I know where I want to be. I know what I want to do. And I think people think that if you derail here or there, that, it's so bad, everybody's going to derail. There isn't one person that's gotten on a track and has stayed on that rail. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or come off and had to get put back on and then, set free again to go down the track. But
right.
People just need to know that things are going to happen. You're going to come off. You just got to have to understand that, okay, I know my direction and write that course and keep going.
Yeah. It's that re-engagement, right?
Yeah.
Re-engage with that purpose that you've created. It's okay to get off track, but re-engage when you can. I think what happens is people don't re-engage. They think, well, I'm broken. I came off the tracks. There's no fixing it. So I'm just going to stay off the tracks. And the truth is, at any point you can get back on the tracks.
Right. Absolutely.
So let me ask you this. So after all of this, you retired just recently, and let me ask you, did you feel like a small again? Did you feel kind of in that space, like a little uncertainty and a new path and a new journey? And now what?
That was a big yep. Capital letter.
Yep.
So, I mean, when it all happened, I really leaned on my relationships and my friends and stuff like that. And it took a little bit of time for me to realize, like I was saying earlier, is that, the costume didn't define me. It was me. And it was the people around me. The costume was just a costume. I was just really fortunate that I was able to be covered, and the bear got all the accolades and stuff like that. And then I could go home, I could hang it up, and I was just Jon.
Yeah.
Because, on another note, is because that's really another reason why I didn't want to tell anybody who I was or what I did, is I really liked when people would like me for me, not because of, the bear. Because I'd see it all the time with the athletes. They'd always have this little gang of guys and this little posse following them around, but they didn't really care about them. They were just excited because he was famous and had money,
Yeah.
But I just when I got done, the uncertainty was pretty overwhelming. But I don't know. I've just been really blessed with the fact that, I don't know if this came from a Catholic upbringing or not, but I'm just saying is I just trusted where I was going. And like I said earlier, I had those job offers. I didn't take them. I wanted to stick with. I knew there was something more out there, and it took a little bit of time, but it fell into place, and I'm exactly where I wanted to be right now, because I'm trying to buy Alinco costumes, and at the same time in my head, we're starting a whole charity side of it where Alinco can be given back to a lot of the charities out there, and we're already working with a group called Mascot Miracles, and they come in and we make all their costumes and stuff like that, along with Best Seat in the House, Ivan, and he was just in the other day, and we're working on getting him a couple characters, but being able to give back through the business instead of the bear.
Yeah. Wow. Beautiful. Ryan, what thoughts are coming up for you? What questions do you want to ask?
Oh, geez. See, now you put me on the spot.
And I've got more if you run out.
What have you done? So a lot of times I'm sure there was moments where, you hit a breaking point or a frustration spot where you want to quit or give up. What advice would you give people that are going through something? They've found a purpose and they've hit roadblocks. How did you bust through those roadblocks? What does Jon do when he comes up against a hard moment?
I just go cry on my wife's shoulder.
Hey, the support network is huge, right? Usually behind every good man is a really amazing woman. So
she is amazing. Honestly, I really look at it as like with this business now, and I always compared it to my skits. When I would go in, because I had to come up with, I was the one that came up with the ideas and the videos and the skits, and I'd go in and pitch them to Grant or to, Craig Sanders and those guys. And a number of times you'd get no, but there's that feeling in your chest, you know what I mean? That passion. And when I felt that not desire, but like that feeling inside of like the butterflies, like I know this is going to work. And that passion, I would push and push and push to get them. And thankfully they were open-minded enough to listen, but I would push until they were finally like, I wore them down. They were like, okay, fine, you can do it. and I would go out and do the skit. And when it popped, like, do you guys remember that the skit where, well, there was a skit. Do you remember a long time ago, Ryan, when the guy ran on the floor with a Jazz Sucks sign and it had Dallas? He was a Mavericks fan.
Yes, I do.
That one I had to push hard for, and nobody thought it would work. And if you remember that night, I mean, crowd was standing and everybody was cheering, and it just went off amazing. But it was because I really, really believed in it. And I didn't want anybody to tell me no, that it's not going to work. And I said, you know what? Just let me prove it. Let me fail. And if I fail, you know, you win, but let me at least try. And they did.
Is that when you tackled him? Did you tackle? Yeah, that's right.
And
like straight on, like, boom, just nailed.
It was awesome, though, because I only told, like, so my management kind of knew, but then I only told 2 security people. And I said, I'll give you each $20 if you catch him. And then I talked to Ryan Archibald, the guy that was running, and I said, I'll give you $20 if you stay away from him. So it looked pretty real. And then there was a moment where one of the security guards almost grabbed him, and I was like, I got to go. So I had to run out. But squirrel. But what I'm saying is, you know, I think that is what people need to know is, you know, if you really believe, you just can't give up. You know what I mean? And I think that, like with where I'm at now, is I really believe in what I'm doing right now, which is the Linko costumes and stuff, where I feel that passion in my heart. So
I keep kicking the comments, but yeah, on accident.
I got you back.
Yeah. So let me ask you this: if there was some wisdom that you would share. I went away from asking for advice, you know, just so wisdom, some things you learned along the way that really benefited you in your life. You know, if you could share one piece of wisdom that really stuck with you through the whole experience, what would that be?
That's another one of those that's like, there's so much. That is such
yeah. And so pick any one of them. It could be
it'll serve.
Yeah.
I don't know. You know, I mean, honestly, I think in today's world, there's so many people chasing after. I mean, I don't know how to explain it. So it's going to be a bunch of them kind of in a row.
Yeah,
but it's
sure.
like,
no, that works.
People get kind of confused on what's important. Yeah. And I think a lot of people think that money and, you know, social media and, you know, all this stuff is important, but it's not. Something I realized, have you ever seen that movie, Greater?
No.
It's a true story about the Brandon Barlsworth. He was a football player.
Okay.
And you guys need to watch it, and everybody out there, you need to watch it. It's
Greater.
It's a true story about Brandon Barlsworth and just his goal to get where he wanted to be, and he wanted to play for the Arizona Razorbacks, but he was overweight and picked on, and he was one of those guys that was just driven. And I'll be a son of a gun if he didn't get through high school. He got a couple offers from some D3 or D2 schools, and then he churned them all away. And he walked on over at the Arizona Razorbacks.
Wow.
And became one of the first walk-ons to start for 3 years, and then ended up in the NFL.
Wow.
So, but and that's where the Barlsworth Award for the walk-on, they get a scholarship. I mean, it's amazing, and it's a very Christian-based movie, but it's amazing, and just his story and what he overcame to get to where he wanted to be. I mean, it's exactly what you guys are talking about.
Yeah.
But I think that that was another squirrel. But a lot of people need to just understand that, you know, your money and all that other stuff can be taken away anytime, but your character and integrity can't. And, you know, I was really fortunate with, you know, like I said, having the right people in my tribe, like, you know, Andy Chudd's been popping up on there, and Curtis and Lan. And I mean, there's just so many people that I've seen names, but having those people in your tribe and just being open-minded and listening. So many people are just like, this is how it is. I'm not listening to anybody. Take it or leave it. And I feel like I'm very malleable. I'm
listening to a lot of stuff on creation and how to manifest and bring into your space the things that you want and be able to create how you want, to be a curator of your life. And that's one key thing that keeps popping up is being open-minded to the universe, to God, to source, to the ways that it can come, and not being so tied to the pathway of how to get there, but knowing where you want to go, holding that and getting to work and trusting that how it happens and how it comes is how it needs to come.
Right.
But not being shut down to like, oh, wow, what came from this guy or from this opportunity, or, you know, if you're open to those things, and Nick talked about it earlier, the I don't know, I'm going to call it the odds, but you'll get to where you're going.
It's
you
like
put out where you want to go, you still can get there. There's a fine, like an infinite amount of ways to get to the end goal.
Yep. I 100% agree with that. And I've said that before, is that there's not one right way, and too many people think there is. And, you know, to live your life is really, it's so vast on what you can do. It's just a matter of, to me, is making sure that, you know, you don't have to step on somebody else to get to that point.
So I want to 100%. The journey, you know, looking at the book, The Giants and the Smalls, we're going to send you a copy of that. But the idea here is that you had this awakening to some things you wanted to do. You stepped out onto an uncertain path, not really knowing the direction you would go. You had the ability to have some courage and climb a giant. And in your case, you literally climbed some giants in your world. You had visions with giants. You had mentors. You surrounded yourself with people that could support your vision. You had growth where there's no going back to the old Jon. Yep. And then inside of that, you worked daily to access your potential, to see how far can I push? How much rope can I actually use before I actually hang myself? And you used it all. You know, you went after it all. And then in the end, you taught others and you showed others a way. And that's the journey of the book. And now, starting all over again, you're on a new path on that same journey. So it's self-similar, but it's another purpose. It's another possibility for you. And so that's where the idea of the book is that the journey that you took to get to where you are today is the same journey that they're going to take. And it isn't dependent on your race, your culture, your religion, your political views, your age, your financial status. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with you stepping into your potential and following that same path that you took. And so what do you hear as you hear that journey? Does that sound somewhat in line with what you did?
I mean, sort of. I mean, I think the best thing that, you know, it's something, you know, that from the people around me. Hi, Kay, I love you. But it's something that I think, you know, people, if they could just realize that, you know, once you give back, you're going to get twice as much, you know, you get twice as much back by just giving. And I've always, you know, thankfully, you know, had that mindset of, you know, I'll give everything I got, you know, and not expect anything in return. But it always does come back in positive ways. You know, the whole karma universe thing, it's 100% real. And I really do. I really try to do that is make sure that I'm trying to help as many people as possible, but I'm not expecting anything back. I just want to help because there's a much greater feeling by helping somebody than by, you know, taking $100 and going and buying something. You know, I'd rather give that $100 and see somebody's life change.
It's beautiful. I love it. I've known you about 58 minutes and I already get the experience of you that's the case for your life.
8 minutes and 54 seconds, mister.
Let's get precise. Anything else you want to share today?
No, I mean, you guys, seriously, thank you guys for having me on. I think, you know, I'm excited to read the book and stuff like that. But I think what you guys are doing is amazing and you know, helping people find that path. So, I mean, it's hard, especially in today's world. You know, that path is, you know, covered with branches and trees. You got it. It's a lot harder to get down that path.
Yeah, I see a lot of people holding up signs saying, "Take my path, come down my way." Right. And what you've discovered for yourself is you have your own way. You found a door for you. And I like that. So Ryan, any other thoughts that you want to share?
You know, everything that you've talked about, it's hard to put 25 plus years or a lifetime of Jon in a 1 hour type of a setting, right? And get it all out there. But everything that you've done, you know, and the lessons that you just taught us, the biggest one that stands back, you know, out for me is the giving back. And that resonates with me because that's the type of person that I am and trying to accomplish in my life. We had the opportunity to go down to a school in southern Utah and to teach kids about being giants. 500 kids about their giant potential and that it's inside of them already and that they can be, do, or have anything that they want.
Yep.
And taught them these principles and taught them the principles that you just shared with us as well. And we're gonna be able to take this interview and the nuggets that you shared with us and grow and do that for more. We've got a school program. We're going to be going into a ton of schools. We're teaching 300 teachers this year so far scheduled. That are going to then be able to get in front of, you know, another generation of kids to become giants, to see that, hey, I have a goal, I have a dream, I have a vision. I want to be a jazz bear. I want to be this. I want to be that. I want to do this. I want to do that. And I know that there's, like I told you before, there's millions of people that have been affected and been impacted by the man that you are and that you've become, and for showing up today. We appreciate you, and you know, we honor you, and thank you for being who you are.
Oh, thank you guys. Thanks, Ryan. I need to bring I'm running out of cards, Ryan.
And I don't do that. I don't do that just to, you know, like to, you know, because you were the jazz bear. I do that because that's who you are. I can see who you are and who you've been. And that's you. That's you, man. That's on you. You did it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And you know, if you guys do though, with what you guys are going out and teaching with schools and stuff, is if you need anybody or to speak, you know, or like even just want to talk to somebody that have great stories that did overcome, had that dream and kept pushing through. I got a bunch of guys that you guys can talk to. It's amazing when you listen to their stories, and like you said, they just push through and
we'd love to connect. Yeah.
Well, that right there is an example. That's a beautiful thing, because you could have said, you know, I've got a lot of great stories to share. And you went right past that and you said, I know a lot of guys with some great stories to share. I mean, it's a testament to your character and your integrity around who you are and how you show up in the world. Is you're looking for that positive everywhere, that you don't think that you're the source of all the positivity. You know, it's like, I'm learning from giants. I'm standing on their shoulders. I've got some guys that you should hear from. You know, you think I'm a giant, you should hear this guy. He's pretty incredible.
They are giants. He's huge. I am small.
Yeah, well, cool. Well, let's wrap up there. Giants, as you watch this video, go back through and catch the nuggets. There's a lot in here. And when we're in the interview, a lot of times I'll miss it. So I'll go back through and listen and catch things, because I get in the space of wanting to share the information and don't hear it all. And so I love to go back and listen and do that. So as you're on your journey, just remember, you might not have one single purpose. You might have multiples, right? And the journey is similar for all of us. So step out there, chase the squirrels, right?
Yeah.
Stay away from drugs.
Yeah.
And next show, we'll tell you about the bull riding.
Yeah, we'll do a round two. We'll get into the nitty gritty.
Hey, you know, another thing, if you guys, and for everybody out there, is another book that's really good. It's called The Go Giver. If you guys have you read that yet?
I've read it. It was a long time ago though. Yeah. So I'll revisit that. The Go Giver.
Go Giver. Yep.
Well, perfect. Jon, thanks for being on. Giants, make it a giant day. We'll see you in the next episode.
I love you too. You guys are amazing.